again to the second part of today's programme. Now back to Andy Kenny's State of the Nation address last night. One man who wasn't impressed was Seamus May from Sligo, and Seamus is on the line now. And Seamus, you're the spokesperson you are for the International Small Business Alliance, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right. You found a lot of what Andy Kenny had to say unacceptable last night. Is it because of what he didn't say or what he did say?
Well, I suppose it's a combination of both, in addition to the fact that our group have been in constant touch with An Taoiseach and several other ministers since the very day they took office. And, you know, what was said last night would be funny if the whole thing wasn't so serious. I mean, Gubu came to mind straight away. We remember that famous State of the Nation speech by Charles Haughey when he was actually speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Well, unfortunately, the situation seems to have not changed one iota.
Why? Why do you feel that Enda Kenny wasn't telling us the full truth?
Well, since Enda Kenny came into power, and Fine Gael in general have been talking about jobs, jobs and jobs and how to create jobs. His very inaugural speech said that the government were going to create. I mean, how do you create jobs?
And I actually lost count in the amount of times. He nearly ended every sentence last night with the government's priority was to create jobs.
Well, the government's priority is clearly not to create jobs. From our extensive interaction with the government's priority is to look after themselves and their cronies and incompetent senior civil servants. And far too many good people with knowledge in this country, and people brave enough to speak out, are just being pushed aside. We have brought solutions. I'm not saying they're total and complete solutions, but we believe the core issue in creating jobs is to get this country's cost base down. We are blue in the face, writing to and trying to meet various ministers. Nobody in the Fine Gael party will engage with us. And I would add, Mr. Kenny has said repeatedly that he has an open door to anybody that can come and provide ideas for job creation. Nobody. Our alliance has the idea. Our alliance has the way forward. And the Taoiseach will not meet us. Richard Bruton will not meet us. Alan Shatter will not meet us. And Minister Perry has now washed his hands of the entire matter.
All right, okay. So your group, you're in the business of creating new jobs or pushing for new jobs to be created. But you have an underlying problem as well, isn't it? And you feel that certain aspects of the business in this country has been ignored by the government and has been successful ignored for quite some time.
The problem is our cost base. Our cost base is too high, and our cost base is too high because of the failure of regulation. We can have the greatest little nation in all of Europe if we just do a few basic things right. We have to deal with incompetence at the highest level in the civil service. It's only yesterday, the same day that Mr. Kenny was making his speech, we've the story about Kieran Conlon that got the 35,000. Why do cronies, why do government cronies have to get these huge salaries, and where is the competences, where is the track record? We must deal with these. And the Competition Authority, I know you've spoken to me before about it, but the Competition Authority, as it's presently construed and funded, is a dummy. It does not work, and it simply does not do the job it's set out to do. We could lower our prices, we could lower our costs in this country by at least 20%. We could get exports flying again, we could maintain manufacturing jobs and create more manufacturing jobs, and we could suck more tourists into the country. But the government doesn't want to listen because it's too caught up in what went on for too long with the previous government. It is all about crony capitalism.
And have they given any reason why they won't meet with you as a group? Ministers or the Taoiseach himself?
Well, the Taoiseach wrote to us last week to say that he was too busy.
Too busy?
Too busy to discuss job creation with people that have been at the coal face of this for over 30 years.
Well, I suppose it is a busy time for him, in fairness. Apart from addressing the nation, he's involved in budget negotiations, we assume.
Well, we specifically made clear that we wouldn't at all expect to meet him before the budget, but our correspondence and efforts with the Taoiseach is going on since the very day when he took office last March.
All right, okay. And did you see any merit at all in what he had to say last night, or did you take on board what he was asking the people to do, to stick with it, and they have a 4-year plan, and we're on the right track?
But the 4-year plan, who's going to pay for it? The people are going to pay for it. The top civil servants and the politicians are going to get off scot-free. The body corporate that are involved in all these cartels right across every sector of society, they're not being penalised. They're not being asked to pay for anything. It's the ordinary people every time. It doesn't work. It's just rhetoric, and it doesn't work.
Okay, so you weren't sold at all on what he had to say last night?
sorry. I think he has to step up to the plate, and indeed, all of the present government need to step up to the plate and look at job creation. We will meet them. We will talk to them. I'm not saying we have all the answers, but we are certainly well worth listening to. We can explain to this government, and we can show them how to get things moving forward again and get people back to work.
Right, okay. You were talking in your submission to us about crony capitalism, that this was the government represent. What did you mean by that exactly, crony capitalism?
Well, Enda Kenny himself said in his, I think it was his 600-day speech, he talked about the slew of cross-directorships in the financial and construction sectors and the failure of audit committees and external auditors to identify systemic failures that have had catastrophic economic consequences for everyone. So I don't think we need to explain much to Mr. Kenny about crony capitalism.
Right, okay. You're still in a position to meet him and his ministers or any minister on the job creation issue when the budget's out of the way, perhaps in the new year, Seamus?
Yes, we've asked to meet, but we've got a letter yesterday or last week saying no. The Taoiseach is, and the reason we wanted to meet the Taoiseach is because we believe and we can show, and we have shown the Taoiseach that the Minister for Enterprise, Richard Bruton, has serious conflicts of interest, and John Perry, for whatever reason, is either unable or unwilling to deal with these issues.
All right, okay. Someone is suggesting maybe that you should put your money where your mouth is and that you should run for election, Seamus, next time round. That's something you'd ever consider.
Well, I mean, if you look at people like John McGuinness in Fianna Fáil, John is one of the best parliamentarians we've ever had, but he was lost in Fianna Fáil. I mean, he's spoken out fantastically well ever since. I mean, John McGuinness, in the last few weeks, he spoke about a deeply corrosive culture within the top echelons of the public service, rotten to its core and incompetent at the top levels, that still has a toxic influence on running of this country. Problem is, when good people go forward, they get sucked in. That's probably what happened with George Lee.
All right, okay. And you categorise yourself in that group as well, if you were to run?
Well,
you might get sucked in as well, you're saying?
Well, I certainly wouldn't get sucked in by anybody. I'd be always in a position to speak my mind, and we're prepared to do so. We have a very, very good group of experienced people. We're prepared to sit down with anybody that Taoiseach Enda Kenny nominates to sit down and talk to us. We'll go ahead and do that.
Thanks for joining us this morning. That's Seamus May there of Strandhill and County Sligo, who's spokesperson for the International Small Business Alliance.
End of message.